Hey, what's up? This is Scott with Level Up Tutorials, and today we're going to show you how you can respond to events in your template with your views. And to do that, we're going to show you how to update and delete these resolutions that we've created. That way you can get an idea about what happens and what information you have access to with these events. So let's get started right now. Okay, so in the last video, we got our template successfully reacting to a submit event and adding a new resolution. Now we're going to add two new events. This time they're going to be not template body events. However, they're going to be template resolution events. Okay, so let's first go ahead and come to our HTML here, and let's come to HTML. Now inside of this list item, let's go ahead and add something. I'm going to have a button, so it's going to be a button with a class of delete. So just like this, and it's going to say remove. Just to be confusing, the text will be a little bit different. Okay, let me space this out to make it a little bit more presentable here. Okay, so we now have a button with a class of delete with the text of remove inside of our resolution. Now, what we want to do is write an event on the template of resolution that reacts to this delete and deletes that particular resolution. Now, this is going to show you some of the cool stuff that Meteor can do with events and just how much data is attached to these events. So it makes your life really super easy. So we can come in here and below our template.body events, but still within the isClient if statement, we can say template.resolution. Sorry, that's resolution with a lowercase r and no s, just like that. And then events. So template.resolution.events. And we have our parentheses and our bracket, just like that, just like we did before. And now this time, instead of looking for a submit event, because this isn't a form, we're going to be looking for a click event. So inside of parentheses, so inside of quotes, we can say click space, and we want to give it the DOM element that we're looking for, and we can say period delete because we are looking for the delete classed button. Okay, now again we do colon and give this a function. Now this time we don't need the event, so we're not going to pass it in here, and we can just say it like this. And let's go ahead and show you what Meteor is capable of here. So before we did resolutions.insert. Now this time we're going to use resolutions again, just like we did last time, but instead of .insert or .find, we're going to do .remove. Okay? Now .remove takes essentially an ID of an object. Now MongoDB, the database system, is automatically generating and assigning an ID to every entry in our collection that is accessed with the property of _ID. Now what's cool here is that we have access to this. Is referring to this particular resolution that we clicked. So we can say this _ID. So what's going to be unbelievable here is that we have this click.delete function that's running, and all it's doing is this one line. It's grabbing which item it is, it's passing in the ID, and it's telling our resolutions to remove that. So again, this one line is going to come in here, and it's not only going to remove one of these resolutions from our database, it's also going to be removing it from the front end of our website as well. Okay, so that's just one of the coolest parts about Meteor. So we can go ahead and click remove. It's gone. If you were to do a refresh or anything, it's gone. It's gone forever. So now we can not be shy about clicking and adding new ones. So we can say hello, what's up? And if we don't want them, they're gone. We don't have to have them. Okay, so this is how we respond to click events, and this is using template.resolution instead of template.body. Again, the difference is that is inside of this template here, not inside of our body template. Okay, so now let's go ahead and add a checkbox. So now we can have the status of checked or not checked, okay? So before our title, we're going to add an input, and the type is going to be checkbox. Okay, and it checked is going to be equal to, and then inside of parentheses, inside of quotes here, we can have a double bracket, and that's going to be the value of checked, which is going to be a Boolean. It's going to be true or false. Since none of our items have a checked property yet, it's just going to be false. It's not going to show up, so therefore they're not going to be outputting as checked. It's actually not going to be false, it's just going to be completely blank. So we don't have to worry about that showing up as checked when we don't have anything that's checked. Now let's give this a class. And that class is just going to be toggle checked. So this is the class that we're going to look for on our click event. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this just so I have it in my clipboard. Okay. Now, to just keep this in line with the example that I've been doing, what I want to do is I want to type span, and we're going to give this span a class of text, and just like that. So this is the text of our resolution, this is the button, and this is the input. Okay, so now let's come back to our page here. We can see that we now have these neat checkboxes. We can check them. It's not doing anything. If we were to refresh, those checks would go away. Okay, so now let's actually make an event that responds to this checked, finds the current resolution that we're looking for, and adds checked is equal to true inside of that item. So if we think about what we did before, this sort of strategy for that shouldn't be too difficult. What we're going to do is we're going to, inside of our template.resolution.events here, we're going to add a new event. And because this is an update event, I'm going to add it first. For some reason, I have a thing about having the delete events last. I don't know why. We can say click, and then we're going to be looking for that class, which was toggle checked. And now I need a period before that because it's a class. And again, we're going to do colon and then function. And since we are able to grab the ID from this .id, we're going to be going ahead and using that once more. And I'm going to finish it off with brackets. Now you should note that template.resolutions.events is an object. We have a property here and we have a property here. So in between each one, you need a comma. It's sometimes easy to overlook that, thinking that maybe this is just a function inside of this, but this is an object. And you're always going to need a comma for each consecutive one, except for the last, right? Okay, so now that we have two events here, we have our function. Now let's go ahead and add some new code where we're going to update an event. So I'm going to paste this resolutions. Now the method that we're going to use is .update. Now this takes some items here, and one of them is going to be this ._id to find the current item, the current resolution that we're looking for. And we're going to have comma, and then we're going to have an object. Now inside of this object, we're going to do $set colon, and then another set of curly brackets. Inside of here is the properties that we're going to be modifying. You could always open this up here and say like this, or you could leave this in line. It really is sort of the strategy here. If I have one property here, my personal style for this is just to leave it in line, but if I have a lot of properties I'm adding, I'll break it up. So what we can do is type checked, because that's the property we want to edit. And we're gonna say colon, and now we're going to have an exclamation point, and then this .checked. it's going to say, what's the current value of this dot checked? And since that's going to be false, it's going to flip it and it's going to be equal to true. Then it's going to update this current resolution, save it, and hit the database, refresh your UI, and everything like that. So we now have checked this dot checked, and also because we're using this exclamation point, it's basically just going to say whatever this is currently, make it the opposite of that. Okay, so now if we save this, our toggle, this check mark here, is going to be able to respond. So we check it. Now to prove that this is working correctly, I'm gonna refresh. Now you notice these switched here. That has to do with the find up here. And since we're not passing in anything into find, it's not really finding by anything that's explicit. So in the next video, that's one of the things we're going to be covering is how we can make this find a bit more explicit. So however, we have this check, we refreshed, and even though they changed order, the check is still there. Likewise, if we check and maybe uncheck this one, yeah, they're the, so this is totally working. It's hitting our database, updating the resolution. The only thing we don't have is that visual cue. Now let's go ahead and modify our HTML to be able to respond to that checked. So this is pretty cool because we now have access to this checked variable. What we can do is add a class to our list item. So we can say class is equal to, and then inside of here we can use our template tags and say pound if checked. And then inside of here, we want to output a class. That class is going to be checked. And then we can end that up with /if, just like we did before with this each statement here. We now have if checked, output the word checked, and then end the if. So now if this item is checked, it's getting the class of checked. And if you'll notice, I have some CSS for a class of checked, and that is to give it a strike through and gray it out slightly. So we now have the ability to modify the appearance. It's toggling whether these are checked or not checked. We refresh and everything is persistent. So in absolutely no time at all, we've built something really super cool. As always, this is Scott with Level Up Tutorials. Keep watching. We're going to show you a lot of more what Meteor has to offer. As always, you can reach us on Facebook or Twitter at Level Up Tutorials. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.